are places that don't appear on maps because they're not made of land or concrete. They're built from fear, silence, and the lies you tell yourself while smiling in the mirror. Jung didn't speak of enemies with faces. He spoke of inner labyrinths where the soul slowly gets lost without a sound. The house of denial is one of those places, and it's deadly. It's where the shadow is buried, where you hide everything that unsettles you, everything that scares you, everything you swore you'd never become. Not just your traumas, but your desires, your rage, your real power. Everything you could be if only you stopped pretending. But you don't, because looking inward feels dizzying, because opening that door could shatter the bones of your soul. So, you choose to deny, and each time you do, you shrink, you weaken, you become more predictable. Denial isn't ignorance. It's self-deception. It's betrayal. It's handing over your will to a part of you that you don't understand, one that begins pulling the strings from the shadows. Suddenly, you sabotage yourself. You push away those who love you. You obsess over what you can't have. You repeat the same mistakes over and over, blaming the world for your ruins. That's the trap. Denial feels safe, like a warm house, but it's a house without windows, without doors, a mental cell, a cage dressed up in excuses. And you know what's worse? From inside, you start believing everyone else is the problem, that the world is rotten, that no one gets you, when in reality, what you refuse to see is that you're running from yourself. Jung made it clear. Facing your shadow doesn't make you weaker. It's exactly the opposite. It's the first step toward real control, real strength, real freedom. Because once you integrate what you denied, you stop reacting like a puppet. You don't explode over trivial things. You stop chasing love where there's only emptiness. You leave the house, and for the first time, you breathe. When you leave the house of denial, you don't become a saint. You become human, raw, whole, not perfect, but real. You no longer live to please. You no longer smile while bleeding inside. You learn to be yourself, maskless. Jung called that individuation, the merging of everything you are, what you accept, what you hide, what you deny, into one being. But that union doesn't begin with light. It begins with courage. The courage to admit that you're not as kind, peaceful, or whole as you pretend to be. When you feel anger, don't cover it with cheap politeness. Ask why. Trace its origin. Listen to what it's trying to tell you. Because a shadow that is seen no longer controls you, but a shadow ignored waits, watches, and one day it acts. For you or against you. Don't build your home on denial. Don't exile your truth. Go down to the basement of your soul. Find the parts you buried. Speak to them, not to justify, but to understand. Only then will you stop repeating your fate. And finally, start living your truth. But be careful, because just when you think you've stepped out, it begins to rain. This is no ordinary rain. It's the rain of complaint. Here, pain doesn't transform. It recycles. It becomes speech, a story, a lament you repeat 1,000 times as if telling it could heal you, but it doesn't. It only keeps you stuck. Life let me down. They always do the same to me. One day, they'll regret it. Comfortable lies that sound like truth, but they are chains. And the longer you stay under that rain, the harder it becomes to move. You grow slow, heavy, wounded, and proud of it. Here, your suffering no longer seeks healing. It seeks emotional revenge. You expect your pain to justify you, but resentment doesn't punish the one who broke you. It breaks you. It hardens you. It chills you. It changes you. You start loving from a distance, trusting with suspicion. And if you don't wake up, you become what hurt you. Cold, sarcastic, cruel. That's when the shadow wins. When it convinces you that suffering makes you good. It doesn't. Suffering doesn't make you righteous. It makes you dangerous. If you don't transform what hurts, your anger isn't dirty. It's sacred. It's distorted vital energy, but if you don't examine it, it becomes a chain, and Jung knew it. Forgiveness isn't about setting the other free. It's about breaking that chain dragging you from the past. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's looking at the pain and saying, you don't get to write the rest of my story. That is soul alchemy, turning emotional lead into gold, drawing strength from the wound, building boundaries from what once destroyed you. So, the next time resentment holds you, stop. Ask yourself, am I freeing myself or am I rotting? Because the rain of complaint always offers comfort. But beware, don't confuse comfort with peace. And when you think you're ready to move forward, you realize you can't, because you're chained, not to the past, but to yourself. Welcome to the third shadow, the prison of remorse and shame. Guilt and shame are not the same. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame whispers, I am the mistake. And that voice, it eats you from the inside. It doesn't scream. It doesn't overflow. It hides in corners. It makes you work twice as hard, smile when you don't want to, achieve things you don't enjoy, because deep down, you believe you're not worthy. Jung saw it with brutal clarity. Shame is one of the most toxic states of the psyche, not because of its intensity, but because of its quiet persistence. It's a prison with invisible bars, built from phrases someone placed in your head when you were too young to defend yourself. I'm not enough. I don't deserve love. I must become someone else to be accepted. And so, you punish yourself. With pressure, with perfectionism, with relationships that always make you feel less. You seek validation, but none of it fills you, because the voice you truly can't silence is your own. Jung didn't promote indulgence, but he warned, the psyche cannot heal if it's trapped in punishment. True growth doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from knowing who you are, even with your cracks. Authentic remorse transforms you. It makes you accountable. It wakes you up. But chronic shame, it paralyzes. And then Jung leaves us with a question that's painful to face. Whose voice is condemning me? A father's? A church's? A trauma's? A society that only rewards masks? Whatever the source, today you can begin to open that door. Not to erase the past, but to stop living chained to it. Your mistakes are not your name. Your wounds are not your essence. Your past is not your sentence. You weren't made to live in chains. The soul was never born for punishment. Its home is growth, its nourishment, truth, its language, self-respect. If you want to heal, truly, not superficially, you have to hold the mirror in front of you. Not to find flaws, but to offer compassion. Jung said it without hesitation. Only by embracing all that we are, both light and shadow, can we be truly alone and truly free. But there's a place where that freedom is quietly sacrificed. A place called the theater of the persona. The persona, according to Jung, is the mask we wear to function in the world, to be liked, to fit in, to survive. But when you forget it's just a mask, you start living as if the disguise were your face. You laugh when you want to cry. You nod while your soul screams, no. You dress to be accepted, speak to avoid discomfort, hide to avoid rejection, and little by little, you begin to lose yourself. Your real passions, your fears, your madness, your desires, your chaos, the things that make you human, get pushed into the unconscious. And you become an actor in a script you didn't write, a story that isn't yours, a decorative character. Jung didn't call that adaptation. He called it self-abandonment. Because the soul doesn't bloom through performance, it doesn't grow in falsehood, and it doesn't survive long in that theater. That's why you feel tired. Not because of your job, not because of your routine, but because of the distance between your outer life and your inner being. In that space, being authentic becomes a risk. Showing your true self feels dangerous. What if they don't accept you? What if they reject you? But Jung made it clear, no human being can become whole without risking rejection for the sake of truth. Individuation isn't rebellion against the world. It's remembering who you were before you began to hide. It's reclaiming the voice you silenced, the dream you delayed, the rage you denied, the sensitivity you buried. Because no matter how perfect or admired your mask is, if it doesn't reflect your essence, it will never feel like love. And if it doesn't feel like love, it will feel like loneliness. And when loneliness tightens its grip, many don't return to the soul. They take refuge in the mind. Welcome to the fifth abyss, the labyrinth of the surface. The human mind is a marvel when it serves the soul, but when it disconnects from the inner self, it becomes a prison, an operating system without heart, a brilliant maze where truth gets lost among millions of useless thoughts. Here, overthinking is mistaken for wisdom. Thinking becomes anesthesia. You analyze your pain like a math problem. You try to correct the past with theories. You try to predict the future through anxiety. But the more you think, the further you are from clarity. The more you try to control, the deeper you sink. And then the mind becomes a hiding place, a place where real life never reaches you. But neither does peace. The human mind is a brilliant tool, but also an exquisite prison. Carl Jung knew this. When the mind disconnects from the soul, it stops being light and becomes shadow. We think that thinking will protect us. That analysis is the cure. That understanding everything will save us from pain. But in truth, thought without connection becomes an endless maze. A place where you go in circles searching for answers that never come. The mind becomes an elegant trap, a cave with no exit, an echo repeating everything you fear, but in scientific language. Jung warned, the soul doesn't speak in logic. The soul speaks in symbols, in images, in whispers, in dreams you can't understand, but that shake you to your core. Inside the maze of thought, those whispers drown. Intuition is suffocated and the body is ignored. Visceral wisdom is replaced by noise that never stops. Thinking feels safe, yes, but it's a hollow safety based on the illusion of control over a life that was never yours to control. The more you think, the further you are from yourself. Because there are moments when you don't need more clarity. You need silence. You need to stop solving and start inhabiting yourself. Stop explaining and start feeling. Wisdom isn't knowing everything. It's knowing when to stop thinking, when to act, when to trust. Jung didn't ask you to solve life. He asked you to feel it, to walk through it, to bleed it, if necessary. But many, in their escape from the mental labyrinth, fall straight into another hell, the desert of isolation. A dry, clean, empty place, and dangerous. Here you convince your heart that it no longer needs anyone, that solitude is strength, that love is a useless luxury. You become self-sufficient, invulnerable, cold. But what you call independence is dressed-up trauma. What you call freedom is fear disguised as maturity. Because solitude, when prolonged, doesn't heal. It withers. In this desert, vulnerability becomes a crime. No one knows you, no one touches you, no one sees you. You don't see yourself either. You get used to the distance, but you no longer remember what belonging feels like. You become functional, but inhuman. And Jung said it clearly. We were wounded in relationship, and we will be healed in relationship. Because you cannot be fully human in isolation. The truth of your being needs another to reflect it. A living mirror. A soul that says, I see you in all that you are, and still, you are worthy of love. Yes, connection opens the door to pain, but it also opens the door to life. Because the soul was not designed to survive alone. It was made to belong. And the one who stays too long in this desert begins to forget they once knew how to love. And from there, only one step remains. A silent, imperceptible, devastating step. The last place Jung begged us to escape from. The cemetery of the past. This is the final place. The quietest, the most tempting, the most lethal. The cemetery of the past. This is where those who can't let go end up. Those bound by guilt, by rules, by nostalgia, or by a wound that refuses to close. This place carries a sacred aura. It disguises itself as loyalty. It feels noble to remember. It feels right to stay. But it's a trap. Because staying there is not loving the past. It is abandoning yourself. You become an echo. You walk among memories as if they were still real. You relive wounds that no longer exist, but still bleed. You pray to a what could have been, as if it were a god. Your heart clings to what was. Your mind recycles worn-out scenes. And meanwhile, the present, the only place where you can truly be, fades before your eyes. Jung said the psyche always calls us toward wholeness. But wholeness only exists here, in this moment, in this breath. If you're looking back, you don't see the doors opening before you. If you're embracing ghosts, your arms aren't free to hold what's real. Letting go is not forgetting. It's honoring. It's looking the past in the eyes and saying, thank you, but you no longer belong to me. It's not just about releasing people. It's about letting go of versions of yourself that no longer fit who you're meant to become. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of old narratives. Letting go of the idea that life should have been different. Because yes, there was pain. Yes, there were mistakes. But yesterday holds no oxygen. There's no fresh blood in what has already passed. And you're still breathing. So if you find yourself wandering through that emotional graveyard, clinging to old promises, repeating wounds like mantras, stop. Look at what you're trying to keep alive. Ask, with brutal honesty, does this still belong in my story? If not, release it, mourn it, bless it, and then walk. Because life is not found by going backward. It's found in awakening, in saying, I am here, I am alive, I am now. So leave the places that suffocate you. Step out of the theater, the desert, the labyrinth, the prison, the graveyard. Stand on the ground of your soul. Breathe and reclaim your name. If this truth touched your soul, don't let it die here. Leave a comment with the phrase that resonated most. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and like so we can continue exploring the path toward wholeness in the next video. Not tomorrow. Not when you're ready. Now.